All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar. Thank you for taking the time to join us today. Again, my name is Wilson Joseph. We're going to be talking about FTC safeguard rules for CPAs and what are the things that comes along with that. Just give us a few minutes while people rolling in. We This training is so important. We definitely don't want anybody to miss it. So just give us a few minutes while people are coming in, and then we'll get started very shortly. All right. And I do see Farah joining us. Hello, Farah.
Hello.
All right. I think out of respect for everybody's time, and what do you think? Should we get started, Farah?
Yes, we give 1 minute. We can start right now.
Okay.
So, hello everyone. My name is Sarah Joseph. Welcome to your training session today with what your CPA firm needs to know about complying with the new FTC safeguards and avoiding fines. So, and what you need to know today to get protected. As I just mentioned, my name is Farah Joseph. I am the COO and co-founder of Level 3 MD, and I will be the moderator for today's training. I will go over a few housekeeping rules. First, the content we are about to share is intended for educational purposes only. It should not be considered as legal advice. For legal advice, please consult with an attorney in this area of practice. So, today, who are we? We are Level 3 MD. It's a cybersecurity and IT consulting company serving clients for over 17 years. We specialize in helping non banking financial services, healthcare, and law firms with their IT and cybersecurity needs. Our team is experienced in managing regulatory requirements such as the Graham Leach Bliley Act, FTC Safeguards Rule, and HIPAA. We provide dependable IT support and proactive cybersecurity solutions. So today, for our speaker, we have our own Mr. Wilson Joseph. He is the CEO and co-founder of Level 3 MD. He has 20 plus years experience in IT and cybersecurity. He specializes in providing tailored IT and cybersecurity solutions to professional services firms. He helps this firm protect their sensitive data from cybercriminals, streamline their IT operations, comply with regulatory laws, mitigate risks, safeguard their reputations. By taking care of this essential aspect of their business, they can focus on delivering exceptional service and outcomes without worrying about productivity or cyber threats. So I'm gonna let Mr. Wilson Joseph start with the training today.
All right. Farah, thank you for the introduction. Again, my name is Wilson Joseph. I am the CEO here at Level 3 MD. And thank you all for taking the time out of your busy day to be with us today. So I'm going to get started. We have a lot of things that there's a lot of grounds that we're going to cover, and I want to definitely make sure this training it's worthwhile for you. And let me just start out on why we are here to begin with, right? Because you are probably a CPA, you're probably in accounting or somewhere in the United States, and that have to comply with the regulatory compliance when it comes to the FTC safeguard rules. And we'll get into that and exactly what does that mean that you need to do in order to minimize risk and avoid fines and penalties and lawsuits. All right, let's get started. What is the FTC safeguard rules anyway? And the purpose of the Federal Trade Commission standard is really to safeguarding customers' personal identifiable information. Okay, this rule is really designed to make sure that you maintain safeguards in place to protect the sensitive information of your clients that you service. And everything that we're going to talk about is going to be based on the FTC safeguards website, or the FTC's website. And I have the source cited on the bottom of this page. So I'm going to leave it here for you to, when you have a chance, I would encourage you to actually go to that page. Let me also put it on the screen here. I really would encourage you to visit that website so you can really understand, educate yourself on what it means to protect your client sensitive information, because the federal government is really, really looking at making sure these standards are followed. And we'll get into that a little bit more. Okay, so let's talk about non-compliance. Well, going a little bit fast here. So looks like my system here. So the penalties for non-compliance are here. So the fines are hefty. So we're talking about $100,000 per violation and $43,000 per day for each consent violation. So yes, I don't know about you. I don't think I have $100,000 that I want to give to the government just for not following some very the standards that they have in place, right? So for the agenda today, we're gonna keep it very simple. Again, we're gonna cover a lot of things. So we're gonna talk about how the FTC safeguard rules impact your firm, the deadlines that they have in place, which already passed. The deadline was back in 2023. I believe it was June 9th, 2023. They had the deadline, which had to be extended until December because of shortage of professional cybersecurity expert to meet that demand, right? And then we're also going to talk about the very next steps of what you need to do in order to protect your business, to make sure you can comply with the FTC safeguard rules. Okay, let's talk about how the FTC safeguard rules impact your firm. Obviously, it's a regulatory mandate, so it's required to protect your client sensitive information. And not only by protecting your client sensitive information, you're also going to protect your own firm and your reputation. Okay, how many clients can you serve if your systems are locked by a ransomware? If you cannot access your client's tax return or W-2, W-9, S corp file, C corp file, whatever the files that you have for your clients. How many clients can you serve if your systems are locked down, right? What about lawsuits? What happened post a breach? Like if you were impacted by a breach, what happened after that, right? With your clients, if you miss a deadline by not filing the taxes on time, and then now they got penalized by the IRS, would they come back after you? Or if you lost the sensitive information, now the sensitive information is compromised and people are opening credit cards on their behalf left and right and damaging their credits, do they have a right to come after you, right? So those are the things that you need to think about, the impact of the FTC safeguard rules. And also the FTC safeguard rule defined, not following those practices, those best practices that we're going to talk about, which they have in place. They classifies it as a deceptive trade practice. Okay. What does that mean? In the event that you have a breach, you're actually exposing yourself to what we call punitive damage. And as well as if you were involved in a lawsuit, you're probably going to be responsible for paying attorney's fees for the parties involved, and obviously regulatory fines, right? So these are the impact that you need to think about as as a tax professional. Again, the problems that I mentioned earlier, they are so much because 60% of small business will go out of business within 6 months after a cyber attack. Right? That's alarming. Right? And the other 40% stays in business because they understand how to mitigate risks. They understand risk management. Why? Now, why do they go out of business after 6 months after an attack? Right. So think about the overwhelming financial burden that comes. If you're running a larger firms, you may have employees privacy data that got compromised. So those employees may want to come after you. Loss of income due to network outage. I'm going to take a break right now. At the end of this presentation, I will demonstrate a live scenario that's going on right now from a cybersecurity hack that's happening right now. There are government entities that cannot operate at the moment. There are government entities that actually shut the doors because of ongoing cyber attack as we speak right now. This is how big it is, right? So always think about the impact, right? So the legal fees that you have to think about, legal services that you have to meet in order to respond to states and federal regulations, payments in the terms of a ransomware attack. If your files get locked, do you have a number in place that you may think, okay, that I'm willing to pay $10,000, $15,000 or $20,000, $30,000, hoping that I get my information back, right? Or can I start all over? If I start all over, do I have regulatory compliance that I need to meet from a data retention perspective, right? So all of these things, the expenses keep on piling up and piling up. And that's why small businesses goes out of business 6 months after an attack. I hope this was clear. Now, why should you listen to us? Right? It's very simple. You may think we're just some random computer nerds out there, right? Don't answer that. We're not. But the fact is the fact that cyber attacks are happening every single day. And the threat landscape has changed drastically, especially with the use of AI now. Everybody writes perfect English where you can fall victim to what we call phishing scams and all that stuff. And with AI, people can be very good at what they do. For example, a local CPA got hit with ransomware twice. And they're doing those two times, they had about $250,000 worth of lost. Right, all the data got encrypted. They were out of work for weeks while the expenses and the overheads were keep on coming in. They lost revenue, they lost clients, they lost reputation. And because a lot of times when you get in a breach, you have to disclose that information publicly on your website, which are part of are part of the requirements based on the state that you're in. You may have a breach notification law that you have to comply with, where you have to disclose that information either by emailing, calling, sending letters to your client, and as well as disclose that on your information on your website. And the next thing to think about is your professional ethic duties that you have. You know, as a CPA, you may have some standards for your profession, and I listed some of the things that here, right? When you get your credentials to file taxes with the IRS, you actually giving the consent that you actually taking these measures. So these are not new. So these are ethical duties that you have to deal with as a tax professional, is to have reasonable care for the information that you are protecting on behalf of your clients. All right, a little bit about us, why we're different. Again, we are an IT service company that we focus on risk management and security mindset. This is the first and foremost, right? We're always training ourselves, keeping ourselves up to date with the latest technology tools and security tools and processes to better protect our clients. And for us, we exist because of our clients. So therefore, we are a business partner. We have interest in making sure that you are successful, and we give you the tools and the processes and the services that you need from us from a technology perspective to help you meet your business goals. And we have been doing this for a long time, 17 years, and help hundreds of small businesses all over the United States. Right now, let's talk about what the FTC safeguard rules is all about, because I think this is why we're here. And if Section 314-4 applies to you here, what does a reasonable security program looks like from the FTC safeguard rules? They break it down into 9 different components. And then I'm going to talk about each one of them in depth. So the first one that they want is for you to designate a qualified individual. The second thing is for you to conduct a risk assessment to understand your risk. And the third is design, implement the safeguards. Looks like I have this twice. The next thing is really monitor and test your environment, and train your staff and yourself, security awareness training, and then keep your information security program up to date. And yes, you have to create a written information security plan, and requires your qualified individual. That word, qualified individual, you're going to see that throughout my presentations many, many, many times. And then I will explain exactly what it means, right? You want that qualified individual to be able to report to your board of directors, or if you're a smaller firm, your senior executive teams and the senior officers. All right, now let's break these down a little bit more. All right, so the first one is put somebody in charge. Having qualified individuals who actually understand the needs that you need from a cybersecurity perspective. That individual could be someone internal, it could be an affiliate, or it could be a service provider like ourselves. Okay, this person doesn't have to have any specific degrees as they're listed, but what matters most, this person must have the know-how. They must have the real world experience that is suitable for the size of your organization. Okay. And the next thing that they talk about that they want you to have as a part of the standard is a risk assessment. right? When you conduct a risk assessment, you cannot create a plan if you don't know what you're protecting, right? So a part of your security program is to have a risk assessment so you can understand all the different risks that you have in your environment, the inventories, the systems that you have, how they connected to each other, your internal and external vulnerabilities, the type of information that you secure, the confidentiality and integrity of your customers' information, right? So the second part is a risk assessment, which is one of the most important aspect of any cybersecurity program is understanding your risk. Once you understand your risk, you can manage your risk appropriately. Now, after you complete the risk assessment, it's time to implement safeguard and control based on the risk assessment. So the risk assessment is here to identify gaps in your environment. And then now, once you have those gaps, you design a security program to put processes, technology, and procedures in place to help mitigate those risks. So part three, this is going to be the longest part because implementing, there's quite a few things that you want to think about. Okay. Number one, you want to make sure you have a process to review who have access to what system, who had access to what customers' information, things of that nature. The second thing is to understand where you have sensitive information. It's very important. If you don't know it exists, you cannot protect it. So you want to know, you want to create a process where all of your client sensitive information leave in a particular area, that way you can access, you can control, you can review. You have what we call role-based policy. People get to see that information on a need-to-know basis. Not everybody needs to know where your client-sensitive information are based on the level of responsibilities they have. Okay, and the next thing is really you want to encrypt that information wherever is possible. Either that you sending that message in transit using maybe some forms of communications like emails. You want to make sure that information get encrypted, right? Or if that information is sitting at rest, you still want to make sure that information is encrypted. So, quick story: I was at an event yesterday. One of my colleagues was telling us a story. Peers in the industry, in the cybersecurity industry, he was working with a client, and that client is using Microsoft Office 365, so everything gets shared, gets saved in the cloud. They didn't have any backup, so they think they were good. Now, one of the person that was filing taxes for his client, what he would actually do, they use Microsoft Excel. They would pull down the spreadsheet to his local system, and then he would do all the documentation locally and save that information locally. That system was never sent back to the cloud, and his local system was not backed up, and all of the sensitive information was on that local machine. Uh, he was going to the airport, forgot his laptop in a cab, and all that information is gone. Right now, two things. Now he lost the laptop. Now the fact that the laptop wasn't encrypted, that's by definition that's a data breach, right? So you want to make sure that you understand encryption is one of the key that prevents people from accessing your information in the event that either your laptop is lost or stolen, your mobile devices, or even your desktop. You should encrypt it because people break into businesses all the time, take hard drive and things of that nature. So always want to encrypt your customers' information. And the still going as a part of the implementation safeguard rules, and you want to always assess your application, right? Your CRM, your tax software, your third-party applications, right? Where you want to assess where you store, access, and transmit customer-sensitive information. You want to store it, all right? And I am going to be very bold here. There is no cloud. There is no cloud. I have a lot of clients that come to me, hey, prospects, hey, we're good. I'm safe. My information is in the cloud. We don't have to do anything. No, the cloud is somebody else's network, and you are still in the cloud. We have what we call a responsibility model. You are still responsible to secure your own information while it's in the cloud. All right. Perfect analogy. Imagine you park your car in a public parking lot, right? You are still responsible for you to make sure your doors are locked, your windows are rolled up, and for you not to leave any valuables at on clear sites, right? I always tell you that. Right? So it's the same thing in the cloud. It's not uh, it's somebody else's network that you are using for the time being. So you want to make sure you understand all the different responsibility models that comes with the cloud, and what the service provider responsibilities are, and what your responsibilities are as well. And whenever it's possible, implement multi-factor authentication. 99% of the breaches that happen out there can be prevented uh, by using a second layer of multi-factor authentication. Uh, and the next thing they talk about, a part of the standard, is really having what I call, um, data retention policy. You know, after you're not your clients, you're not doing business with them anymore, you have met your regulatory compliance as far as how long you keep that information for. If they're no longer a client, and then you don't have any business use case to keep that information, or regulatory compliance to keeping that information, discard it. Save securely, discard that information, because it's a liability to you. And the next thing to talk about, the environment is always going to change. Your IT environment is always going to change, right? So you constantly have to evaluate your risk. For example, your risk today is not going to be your risk tomorrow. So, for example, if you bring a new client, that could be a potential risk. If you bring on a new server, if you bring on a new workstation, if you bring on a new laptop, whatever the case is like IT is constantly changing. So your network environment is constantly changing. So you always want to have a process in place where you continually evaluating changes that happening to your network, right? And you want to also maintain user access logs to keep eyes on unauthorized access and things like that. And this is super important for the logs. The logs is the component that tells you what, when, how, where something happened. So it's crucial to having systems in place to not only maintain logs but protect that log data as well. And the fourth thing to talk about is monitoring. Is a big. Think about testing your environment, having actual procedures in place to detect any attempts of attack. You know, for me, I don't know if you can tell if you have a threat in your system at the moment. How would you be able to tell? If you're not monitoring your systems regularly, if you're not testing the effectiveness of your safeguard, how can you tell? Right. So that's the fourth thing. It's really understanding that component of those aspects of the area. Again, I want to pause here before I move on. Obviously, we do want this to be interactive. So if you do have some questions that you would like to ask, please go ahead, use the chat window, and Farah will monitor that, and then we can answer any questions that you may have, because we do want this to be somewhat interactive. With that said, Farah, do we have any questions at the moment?
Yes, we do have a question from Jonathan Bill. It says, "Hello, thanks for the content. Has there been any new FTC rules since the requirement for WISPs?"
Great questions. No, the rules is the same pretty much. So for those of you who don't understand what is a WISP, WISP is a written information security plan. That's what it stands for. So in that plan, which thank you, Jonathan, for that question. I will be discussing it a little bit further on that. On that note, there is a small revision to the FTC safeguard rules, but it doesn't impact any the ones that they have back when in December 2023 when they lift uh, when they extended the time for that rule. Thank you. Any more questions, sir?
No, not for now.
Okay. All right. So moving forward, looks like my screen froze a little bit. I don't want to skip a bit, so I think we were on number 5. Okay, so here again, it's this one is without saying. Train your staff is crucial, important, because as a part of your security program, you and your staff are the ones behind the keyboards and the screens. You are doing the clicking. So you want to make sure your staffs are vigilant about the cyber threats that are out there, especially with AI nowadays. People are falling for email scams all the times now, because, as I mentioned earlier, with the power of AI, everybody writes perfect English, and we do see a lot of people falling for that. So you want to make sure you train your staff so they don't be the weakest link as a part of your cybersecurity program. And again, number 6, if you're working with a service provider like ourselves, you want to monitor your service provider. You want to make sure they have the proper skill set to get the job done. You want to make sure you hold them accountable. So the way we work with our clients, we do quarterly reviews on where we at and what we're doing for them, and be very transparent in the process from where they were when they started working with us to where they are now. And those things get reviewed on a quarterly basis, so our clients really have that transparency to know that we service them. So you do want to work with a skill provider that has the experience in that area, that understand the requirements of the safeguard rules, and also your expectation when it comes to your security requirements. You have to spell it out. Make sure it's spelled out in your contract. Your expectation, all that needs to be in your contract. And build ways to monitor your service providers, right? And to assess them. And this is one of the reasons why we meet quarterly with our clients, because we want to give them that visibility. We want to be able to have them hold us accountable. So when you are working with a service provider, those are some of the things that you need to, and which they should be doing anyway. If if they are a true partner and want what's best for you and working on your behalf and looking out for your best interest, right? And again, as I mentioned, security program is not something that is static. It's a proactive approach. Change is constant in your environment. As I mentioned, you bring on a new client. Perfect example. That client had some sort of email compromise. Now they're communicating with you via emails, and then the threat actor can get in the middle of that email, taking that, pretending that they are your client, and then have you shared sensitive information that way. So you think about it from a risk management. So any change that you have to your business could be a risk, because so change is constantly in security, and this is why having the proper processes, procedures, technology in place to help you combat these threats. So as I said, the only thing that's constant in cybersecurity is change. So you always want to make sure you keep your security program current. And again, as we talked about earlier, is to have a written incidents plan here. And this is the same as the WISP that Jonathan mentioned earlier. It's a document. It's more like it's what if, right? What if something happened? How do you respond to a threat, right? What are your recovery plans that you have in place in the event something happened? Who do you call, right? And this could be a result of any unauthorized access, or it could be misuse of information that were stored in your system. That could be what would classify as an incident, right? It doesn't have to be a threat actor getting into your system. It could be, or an assistant that's moving on to your competitor, and they take your client's information with them. That's an unauthorized access and misuse of information. So that would fall under what we call a security incident as well. And in number 8 here, it talks about the qualified individual, right? So as I mentioned, you want to create a program where it's a partnership with whoever's running your IT security program, because at the end of the day, you, the business owner, is the ultimately responsible for your business. It's not going to be uh, your provider, it's you. Although you have a legal document in terms of a contract where you can back and enforce any wrongdoing, but at the end of the day, you are the ultimate responsible for your environment. Uh, Again, many years ago, I had a good friend of mine's, actually. He was doing taxes for a firm, and what happened was his credentials got compromised, and there were people that filing a lot of fraudulent taxes on his behalf. And at the end of the day, he was the one who actually had to deal with the consequences. And I'm just gonna leave it there when it comes to tax fraud and stuff like that. So at the end of the day, that's why you want to make sure that you own this process. You work as a partner with your qualified individual to make sure he's able to paint a picture for you, so you can really understand your risks and have regular communications in writing of the reports that he's producing and things of that nature, so you can make an informed decision when it comes to risk management. All right, I know this is great and all, but I did promise something to you all before the call. I'm going to show you a live hacking incident that's going on right now, um, from the city of North Miami, Florida. And I'm going to log into the website and show you what what are the impact that's happening. So I'm going to uh, minimize my screen here, and then I'm going to come here. This is the city of North Miami, Florida at the moment. Notice of closure. The city of North Miami has experienced a possible breach. It's a breach. They had to close the doors. The doors is currently closed as of today. And it says, I think when I read this somewhere, it says until further notice. Um, I think they probably updated, but this is, think about it. You know, government entities are not immune to these cyber criminals. They have no barriers. They don't care, right? They just want what you have. They want that sensitive information, right? And it's a ransomware attack from what I read. I actually saw this right before I jumped on this call, and I was like, "Oh man, how perfect is this?" And I'm talking about cybersecurity, that I can show a true definition of impact. But the problem with that is the people of North Miami that the city serves. All right, people cannot file for get licenses. People may not be able to pay the bills. People may not be able to get permits. So if you think about a city of the level of things that they have to deal with, this is a result of not having a proper security in place. And even as I look into this, even special meetings like public events canceled. Um, you know, they have to have a community hotlines to respond to the phone calls that they're getting. Right. All of these things is the nature of cyber crimes. You know, we work with a lot of small businesses. They always say, you know what, I'm too small to get hacked. No, you're not too small to get hacked. You're gonna be too small to make the news. But the reality is, not even from a compliance perspective. You know, uh, if a, a, a government entity don't have the bandwidth or don't have the resources to deal with a major attack, how can you as a small business who probably have a bigger IT budget than you do, how can you, right? So this is the impact that um, that we are seeing. So I just wanted to show this live. It's going on as we speak today. Yeah, so I'm gonna leave it there, and I'll go back to uh, the presentation here. So again, I just wanted to make this live so you can see exactly what I'm talking about here. So we'll go ahead and continue with the presentation. So as you know, uh, not trying to scare you or anything like that, but the FTC safeguard requires a lot. It requires, it's time consuming to have all the different controls that we went over to have all these things in place. And again, 90% of the internal IT teams just don't have the expertise to deal with that level of sophistication, or the resources to deal with that. You know, this particular safeguard requires you to have to work with a qualified individual. you know. And I'm gonna say, you know, it doesn't have to be us. You know, we would love for it to be us. Obviously, that's one of the reasons why we do this training is to educate you, to let you know our skill set and the knowledge that we have, but also give you information to make informed decision as well. You know, but the reality is, while you wait, you might be still at risk. You know, cyber criminals, they don't give you a warning when they're knocking on your doors. They just do, you know. And definitely from a client's perspective, for your client's sake, you don't want to be caught unprepared when it comes to that. All right. So obviously, you do have some options, right? Again, if you think about, you know, all these pieces of puzzles that I scrambled all together, you know, so the options that you can try to do this yourself. You know, you can try to piecemeal all the different tools and technology and try to learn how to make this work with that, and how to do the assessments, how to make sure you are checking all the boxes when it comes to that. Or if you feel like, you know, I'm not an IT professional, you know, I am a CPA, I'm an accountant, I am, you know, that's my skill set. Then I would ask you to consider, you know, working with us so we can help you realize your dreams of being a business owner. Okay. And to it's very simple to work with us. You know, as I mentioned in the beginning, we do have a partnership mindset. You know, we look at your best interest in everything that we do. uh, we would rather tell you something that you need to know versus and hurt your feelings, or versus not telling you and hide it from you. And the reality is, that's what you need from a trusted advisor. You know, and ironically, I am not a CPA, so I rely on a CPA to give me financial advice when it comes to my books and when it comes to our accounting needs for our IT solution. So we don't, that's not our area of expertise, right? So we have a partnership mindset, and then we're constantly monitoring your environment with full transparency, and to make sure that we can service you, and so you can service your client. And as well as we are a cyber and risk management first mindset. Yes, we do IT services, but everything that we do is making sure that in the event of something of an attack, we can limit your blast radius. We can make sure that you recover fast, and then so you can continue with your client. All right. So the very next step, again, you know, this FTC safeguard rules is in effect since 2023. If you don't have anything in place from all the things that I covered, if you have some gaps, or you're doing one here, one there, you're definitely out of compliance. I would love, you know, next step is to book a very simple 15-minute discovery call with us to see if we are a good fit to work with together. It's not no obligation to purchase anything. We just want to learn about what your business are, and then from there, if we are a great fit to work together, then the next process would be what we do. It would be conducting a risk assessment for you, and for this training and this training only, we are offering. If you do choose to work with us after the assessment, after we learn your environment to see if we can service you, we are offering a 50% off from our risk assessment for the next 3 days. So by next week, this offer will no longer be available. So I would encourage you, if you feel like you have some gaps into your cybersecurity, I'll definitely think about booking a call with us. It's a no pressure call. We just want to learn about your environment, learn about what you do, and if we can help you and you feel that we are a good fit, would love to partner with you. Again, don't wait until it's too late. It's yeah, as I mentioned, the fines uh, for non-compliance can be upwards to $100,000 fines, plus $43,000, daily fines. So it can add up. Plus all the different lawsuits and things of that nature, and protecting your reputation, all that stuff. So don't wait until it's too late. And with that said, that's all I had for the training. And I am open for any questions at the moment. Do we have any?
Yes, I believe you went over this a little bit. One question is, what measures are in place to protect your sensitive financial data?
Good question. So, if you think about security, you have to have multi layers of security. So, I'm gonna use your home for an example as the analogy that I want to use. So think about you have your physical security, which is your cameras. That's what's monitoring, sending you alerts and things of that nature. Then you have your alarm systems, which have some sensors at the windows in the event of a break-in, sensors at the door if your door pops open, right? So cybersecurity is a multi-layer approach, where not only we look at you protect your network, we protect the applications that you are using, you encrypt that information, you also uh, protect where that information lives. And so it's a multi-layer different strategy to have what we call a true cybersecurity program in order to protect your customers' sensitive information. So the best way to tell you this, until we have an assessment to understand your environment and where that information lives, um, then those are some of the things that you can look at. But it's really start with having an assessment by a professional that can find all the different gaps you currently have at the moment, and then put different tools and safeguards in place to help you mitigate those risks.
Thank you. One last question. I have, are there regular updates and patches to software and systems?
Great question. Yes. A true IT outsource service company will have what we call a remote monitoring and management solution that will automatically patch not only the native applications to your operating systems, but also the third party applications to keep that information secure. And then you also run what we call vulnerability assessments to assess the applications that are vulnerable to make sure they are patched. So again, that's a part of the proactive approach that we use, and usually during our sales process, we usually show our clients how we protect the information with all the different layers of security controls that we have, to help you mitigate those risks. And I'm going to take it a little bit further. There's three things that we do when we're doing an assessment. So we do what we call your physical security, which is, if you have a physical building, your cameras, your locks, your doors, where you have sensitive information, that's the physical aspect, right? And then we have what we call an administrative security assessment. So administrative security assessment is what really compliance is after, is your policies and procedures. Talking about your acceptable use policies, your patch management policies, and all of that stuff. We look for all these things. If you have them in place, great. If not, we build those things for you, recreate those policies for you, and then we have your staff attest to the policies. And then once we have the policies and we have tools in place to enforce those policies. So that's the second thing. Then the third assessment is what we call your technical assessment. That's when we look at your systems to know how old they are, if they're out of warranty, if their operating system life cycles has expired, and all of these different things. Is there any vulnerabilities? So, in a nutshell, that's what we do. I know it's a lot, but pretty much that's in a nutshell. That's how the process works.
Okay, great. So we are approaching the hour. We have one more question. Do CPA and tax accounting firms need to have an IT audit report to prove compliance with the FTC safeguards measures?
The answer is 100% yes. And again, as I mentioned, let me put this resource on the screen again. If you go to this website, it will tell you everything that you need to do when it comes to regulatory compliance. Um, you know, it is a requirement to have a risk assessment because that's how you're gonna start knowing your risk.
Okay, great. I think for now we are almost it's time. So I will say, as Wilson mentioned, the website is on it's there. Like you can always visit us at level3md.com/discovery call for today with the special promotion. And you can always reach out to us by phone 770-648-3399, as well as visit our website. You can book a free consultation at level3md.com. Did you have anything else, Wilson, for today?
No, thank you everyone for joining us today. Our next webinar or training is gonna be on a full risk management that we're gonna be doing for CPAs in 2 weeks. So this is not gonna be just about the FTC safeguard, but we're gonna be talking about risk management platform, what it takes, to fully manage risks, and we'll talk about cybersecurity liability. We'll talk about a bunch of different topics when it comes to not only cybersecurity but a full risk management framework. So that's going to be our next webinar in 2 weeks. Stay tuned. We'll send out some communications on that. And again, thanks for joining.
Thank you again for joining us today for the training. Hope it was, what you needed. Thank you again, and visit us at level3md.com. Thank you for your questions as well. Have a nice evening.
Take care.